Hello everyone and welcome to another episode of Harebrained Games. Today we're going to do a review of Rock Hard 1977. That's right, this is a game by a brand new designer who has a vested interest and understanding and a rich history in regards to that particular time and era of rock and roll. And so it's a 2 to 5 player game. About a 90-minute time frame or so. It is a worker singular placement game that involves you trying to make your way in life to be a rock star. Can you do it? Can you dig it? Let's find out. Okay, let's take a look at what comes inside Rock Hard 1977, Rich. Yes, Moneypenny. You get a board. A board of direction? Or directors? No, a board. And this board has lots and lots of places to stick your worker. It is a singular worker placement game, unlike the multiple worker placement game, so don't be confused. You have different tracks for day, for night, and for after hours. And you have some tracks for scoring, for different cards and bonuses, etc. You also get, each player is going to get their own player board with these very thick, very nice boards with dials that actually feel like dials, not too loose, not too tight, just right. And you'll notice it's just so flat. These are thick. No David Bowie here. You also get a bunch of card selection. There's lots and lots of different pockets and pools of cards. Cards for the hangout, cards for different goals, cards for events, cards for your manager, yourself, your personal goals. Lots and lots of things going on. There's a variety of different characters that you can play. Each one with their own acrylic inset here, so you can use them. Very stylish, way better than a wooden meeple. You also get a variety of tokens here for crew members, for missing work. We're going to learn about that later. And of course, candy. Because everything in rock and roll is all about candy. Candy being whatever you want it to be. But I'm not fooled. I know that this is really all about drugs. And so I took the liberty of making sure these were all appropriately re-envisioned for what they are. I mean, I know that certain rock bands in the 70s could not go on stage without their Unisom. Or, their Bear, Aspirin. Ooh, Motrin. Who wouldn't want to go on stage? Ooh, and yes. Kiss, I was told Kiss always went on stage after stocking up on Gas X. Anyway, candy is a fuel that might give you a little bit of a boost at certain phases of the game. Also, money. You get money. You get paper money. Yay. For all those people who really are not disappointed to see paper money make its way out. Yeah, they have it here. I will tell you, though, this money is so lifelike that I actually ended up, I have my granddaughter come over to give a job, and I gave her money, and she really thought it was real. And yes, I replaced it with real money. But yeah, it's that legitimately, I'm surprised how close it is to the real thing. Again, a variety of cards with it. You also get a playbook, or basically a rules guide. Covers all the details of everything you need. Lots of different information. Why is this rule book so long? Well, cause it needed to be, to explain all these things. You know, you can't rush art, right? Learn that from Pixar. Anyway, so we got this, got that. Again, like this, just such evocative artwork, I gotta say. But that's a review part. Right now, we're just giving you a playthrough. All right, that's what comes in the box. Now let's get to an example of play. All right, how do you play? How do you win? What is the object of the game of Rock Hard 1977? The object of the game is to win. You win by scoring the most fame after a set of rounds that takes place over the course of these months. During these months, you're going to play an indicative day in that month, which is going to be theoretically prescriptive of the rest of the month for you, etc. So as you're going to go through these rounds, and as you can see, there's sufficient rounds. It's not a 2-round game. So you're gonna gain fame, stardom, baby, and you're going to do that by using your worker to place in areas to begin to beef up the game. So what you're going to do, ways that you are going to accrue fame are legionous. There are many ways to beef up yourself. First off, you've got your attributes here. As a player, you're going to worry about your chops, yeah, how good you be, your reputation, how good people think you are, your songs, the substance of your chops and reputation, and then over time, royalties. And then there's craving. Craving is a little different. Craving is the candy cravings that you may have, that you may utilize to boost you in that scene so that you can get over the top, so that you can become Kiss second generation. Every player starts with a given mat. You'll see, notice this. I just love this. This is like a command console, but you'll get that. Look at that amp. Seriously? And again, number one, it goes to 11. You've already won me over. Every player gets a character, and then they get the corresponding character ability here, like Jackie Fox. She has the Cunning Vixen. She's base. She's female. She has a special ability. Also, she has a job. Everyone's going to have a job at the start of their game, and they're going to have to do that job and use that job. It's going to be beneficial in some ways, but it also might detract you from being able to do other things. It's a nice tension. And a manager. Manager's not your friend. Manager's just an ally. You use your manager or use a special ability. Some you use once around, some are persistent effects, etc. You start with money and candy and 2 life experiences. Now this is flavor text. All that really matters here is the tokens. You're trying to collect sets of 4 tokens. We'll get into that shortly. Also, you're going to want to do a mixtape, and then you want to get a record deal. That's also on the docket. Got to start here, get there. So let's go over what it is you're going to do every round. Oh, one more thing. Different goals. Not only are you worried about building yourself up, you also have personal goals for yourself. Small, meaningful steps, Bob. And you're going to just do a radio interview, hire an indie promo 3 times. Each time you do it, you can do it. Then you get fame for achieving that. You've also got an event that happens every round that's going to get turned over. I turned this one over already, or I've got this set up. And you get very unique bonuses for production, performance, and publicity. And some of those are you look for when they're achieved. Some of those you look for as extra bonuses at the end of the game. It's either in the moment or at the end of the game. So, what are you going to do? What is the point? Why are we here? And for how long? Queensryche. Why are we here? Because we're here. Roll the bones. Rush. Can you tell I'm getting into the vibe? All right. On your turn, you're going to do one thing. You're going to reveal an event card, which we did. Face it. You're here because you were told they'd give you something sugary after you donate. Okay, so basically for this round, you're going to get an extra $1 every time you donate blood. That's a thing you can do at any time. There are day actions, night actions, after hour actions, and these are things you can do at any time. It's sort of like the pistol you get in a shooter when all the other weapons are done. Not necessarily. There's certain things you can only do. Or writing a song, you could do at any time. You could be inspired at any moment. You could be chewing bubble gum in a rainstorm and suddenly the mood strikes and you're BJ Thomas. All right, so what you're going to do, figuring out starting players and whatever, and this is a 2-player setup, so there's some blockage here. We've got the Rising Star, and all the Rising Star does is act like yeast and dough and just like mess you up and poke holes where you can no longer eat bread or whatever. How awful of an analogy is that? Radio station, rehearsal studios, and backstage are all off limits this turn for both players. So, boo, what's sad? Okay, well, let's get to what isn't sad then. You do that, and then you've always got gigs. Now, these gigs are going to be what you're going to do in the nighttime, but random gigs happen. You've got your standard ones. You're like, I can always play at, Yoho in a Bottle of Rum Arena, but here you've got these kind of small-scale places to play, a larger place, and then the big old grand stadium, which nets you mega cool stuff. So, anyway, let's just go through a round, and we'll start. So, I start first. I am Jackie. I need to pick a thing to do. Now, on my turn, we're going to start here. We do this. Everybody takes the day. Then everybody does the night. Then everybody does the after hours. Hope I explained that right. It's June, and you've got to do something here. What are you going to do? Well, if you interview, you can increase your reputation. If you rehearse, well, it's going to cost you $1, but you're going to basically get better. You're going to improve your chops. You could take any of these up here to kind of make a choice at any time to buy or sell candy. So you can always shoot up the place. Wow, that's a double whammy. Donate blood. Yay, donate blood gives you money. Write a song and work. Work is something you're going to want to do. The tricky thing is right now my job here is for the night. So basically, if I'm going to do my job as a bartender, and this makes perfect sense, I'm going to need to do that at night, which means I won't be able to do other night things unless I skip work. That's another tension point. For now, though, we're going to go here and go, what do I want to do? I have a buck to my name. That sounds familiar. I've got some Tums in my belly. So what can I do? Well, I'm going to hire a publicist. Let's do that. I place it there. I am limited to it. That's the only thing I can do. I'm going to hire a publicist. Cost me my dollar. And I get 1 reputation. So the publicist is basically, and I get a fame. Look at that. Rocking. That's as quick as it goes. Now it's time for my friend here, Sherry Darling, the musicologist. She has her own set of organizations. Now she has a choice to make because she has a day job. She's a law clerk. She fought the law, and the law won. So she's got to decide what she's going to do. Is she going to work? Because if she works, then she can't use any of these other ideas, because certain areas you can put multiple workers in and shovel them down, but a lot of these are blocked off for more than one player. So can't do this, can't meet these requirements. She doesn't have a record yet. She doesn't have a mixtape. She could hire a crew, but that's down the road. It's only when you start getting into the bigger venues that you need to start thinking about hiring on a little extra crew. Right now, you're a solo artist. You have your own vibe. You can go your own way. Like, yeah, you're your own person or something. Anyway, so she doesn't feel like there's a lot to do here right now. So I don't think she wants to give blood yet. So she's going to work. She's going to go up here and she's going to work. And you know what? She gets $2. She's rich. Now she has $3, which means in a future time, she could theoretically create a record. She could get her demo tape going right now. We'll find out. And then we're done. We're done with the day aspect. So there we go. And again, nobody gave blood, no extras. So we're done. So now we go on to this phase. And again, it's in turn order. I love these picks, these guitar picks for turn order. And so now we're going to go, and what is Jackie going to do now? Jackie remembers. Should she play a venue? Well, she has three reputation right here, because she's earned 3 reputation because of her choices during the day. If she works, then she could get some money, which she kind of needs. But if she plays here, she's going to improve her chops and get a fame. That's a long-term goal. But look at this. Look at that. Nothing is too good for little Bobby, his little bar mitzvah. And so if you play at this bar mitzvah, you're going to get a bunch of money. Yeah, but you're also going to lose, you're also going to have to lose a reputation because you're playing at Jimmy's bar mitzvah. Like, yeah, sorry. That's not going to go. So we could go that way, or she could work. Now, if she chooses to work, in this case, she rolls a die because she's a bartender, so she's going to get a variable amount of money, 1, 2, or 3. But now she's going to skip. She's going to skip. She's not going to work. If she were to work, then she would be, yeah. If she doesn't work, then she's going to have to take a day off. If you get 3 days off, then you're fired. And that means that you don't have to worry about working anymore, but you also don't have a reliable source of income, so you're going to be donating a lot of blood. Yeah, blood and honey leads to money. All right, so we're going to go ahead and we're going to go do this. We're going to pay the $3. No, we don't have. Oh, no, we're going to gain the $3. Again, $3 here. And we're going to play a little bar mitzvah. We're going to cut down our reputation. We'll build it back. Don't worry. That money's going to help. We're going to get our demo tape. We're going to make it rich. All right. And that's what you're going to do for that. And then again, we're just going to continue on. So if in this case, Sherry Darling has a choice here, she could do some things. She doesn't have a lot to go on here. As far as being able to qualify to do anything too extravagant yet. So she's gonna, you know what? She's gonna write a song. Yeah, don't be cruel. And so her song ability goes up, and she's good to go. Now, we're gonna go into the last phase, and the last phase is the after hours. You've done the day, you've done the night. This is the morning time. This is where it all happens. This is where all the back room, back seat, back door, back stuff goes on. So now we have a choice. Now, Jackie can choose to go, you know what? It's time. It's nighttime. I need my Tums. And so she can go do this. She uses her Sugar Rush. She pulls a card, and the card says to increase your craving by 1. Roll for low. Roll for low. Oh, she barely escaped. She doesn't have to go into recovery. And she gets 2 actions. Hard candy. So she can take +2. She gets 3 actions. 3 actions. So what's she gonna do? Well, I like it. She can go hit up Jax. No, she's gonna hit up Buds. And Bud says, you meet a top record company lawyer plus $1 extra to your royalty rate the next time you get her negotiated deal. She's going to keep that going. Notice that she's got 3 of the 4 icons. If she can complete a set of 4 icons, because you'll see that these represent kiss, camera, phone, like Martinelli's, then you're going to get an instant 5-point fame bonus because you're basically, you're the nightlife. Everyone's at paparazzi, yay. Also notice that she landed here. Now she's got extra actions to do, so she's gonna, yeah. But wherever you finally land up, that is going to be the order by which the next round goes, which could be important. Because for now, she gets extra actions. She's going to go here, and she's going to pay the $3, and she's going to go ahead and create a mixtape. That's going to open up opportunities here for her to start boosting up. Again, like gradually boosting up, making her way in life. And finally, she's going to go to bed early. Okay. Like, that is my favorite spot. If I could be at any spot at any time in life, that is my favorite spot. Go to bed early is like the greatest rock song you could ever sing to yourself at night. Go to bed early. So anyway, so her candy has helped her out. And now it's time for Sherry. Actually, anyway, let's go. So she too could do a record demo. She could go anywhere else. If she goes here to Slinky's, she gets a wild card, which can count for anything. So she's trying to complete a collection. You're a dessert wax. You're a floor topping. Why is there? That's hilarious. So she has now it's a wild card for to be used later, plus 2 fame points. So she's got that. And that's what she's got. And that's it. That's the end of a round. That's one of the rounds anyway. When you're done, when all that's done, then we determine initiative. Again, red, blue, everyone grabs their peeps back. They collect royalties, so if you get record deals, you eventually get royalties. That's going to give you more steady flow of income. Not much, but everything counts. Sometimes you're going to have to pay your manager 3 times a game. You're going to have to pay the manager. If you don't, it is detrimental to not pay your manager because it's kind of important. New turn order. Take back the standees. Check for if you have low blood sugar. If for some reason, say you've been really, really chowing down on the Rolos. And 0, well, you have to flip over to this, and at the end of the round, you have to go into recover, and that's your action for the day. It's not too devastating, but it's devastating enough that you probably don't want to make it too awful of a habit of it. And then you roll back and you get going. Then it's, continue on, some more cleanup, whatever. And that's basically the game. At the end of the game, you're going to be judged based on, the goals you met here, personal goals, where you are with your fame, and a variety of other things to basically get you to a final culminated end score of who has the most glory, and you win. So that's a really, really fast-tracked overview of Rock Hard 1977. Anyway, let's get into my final thoughts. Okay, final thoughts on Rock Hard 1977. As always, we go over the cons first, then we go over the pros, then we go over my final thoughts. As for the cons, we'll get rolling on them. This is not really a con, but this is a real game. This is not we got a license for something, now we got to go pump out a dummy game, rake in the cash, be so brash, etc. This isn't that way. This is a legitimate entry into the game. That seems like a really weird thing to be a con, but that said, if you have casual or non-gamers who are really kind of into the vibe and not necessarily gamers in a core sense, they love the rock and roll scene. They might be in a purple haze for a bit while they try to figure this out. At the same time, what's interesting is that the game itself is, beyond the glitz and glamour of the presentation and the showmanship, not that Deep Purple of a game such that it rivals a lot of other great worker placement type contemporaries. I didn't feel, I would not say it's unimpressive. I also wouldn't say it's highly impressive. We'll just go with that. As the other thing is, you can, I always say you can dress up a pig all you want, but that don't make the bacon any tastier. And that's, Paper Money, not my favorite. Yet again, I think Millennium Blades is a game that still reigns supreme as the best use of paper money this side of Eddie himself. Still, money is for nothing and the check's for free, and I will say that if money needs to be employed, and this is realistic looking money, I actually do appreciate that the money is not glossy or fakey enough that it's actually got a nice visceral feel. So when you're grabbing dollars, a lot of times, a lot of the reasons I hate paper money is because it's just like, it's slippery, it's slidey, it's tracking, whatever. The amount the amount of actual money being traded is not huge, where large sums of money are going back and forth, and so that helps mitigate a lot of the frustrations I have in general with money. I would say this is a decent use of money if you're going to use money. There's also a wealth of different cards and thematic representations, and in some ways it's almost like maybe there's a tad bit too many things going on. You got your life experience cards, you got every round's a different event, you've got your 3 goals, you've got your personal goals, you've got your character goal, you've got your manager, you've got your building up sets, you've got all these things going on, these little pools of things, and certain cards, like for example, like your life experience, those are just for theme. When all that really matters is, for all the text here, it's just, here's 2 colored icons that are different to start with. I can see clearly now refrain is gone in that regard. And again, like there's the candy thing, like it's, I like the card deck, the no-op candy card. I'm never a fan of something that says I took a risk and I got jack crap out of it. That doesn't. That's happened. I mean, I suppose there's, Gloomhaven had that kind of thing too. You could wind up setting up and then getting nothing stuff. That never feels good to me. Many actions seem to feel like they're going to sizzle, but in the end, they're just kind of a bump this a tad feel to them. It's not entirely in Lionel Riching of an experience to go like, yeah, when did I practice it? Deek, 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 deek. It's nothing problematic. It really isn't. It's just that maybe certain areas, or the amalgamation of all these things together with some upkeep tweaks here and there, seems like it could have maybe been streamlined out a bit more without the need, without proffering a starvation of impact. That said, I'd hate to be robbed of that if it meant that it didn't let me tap into what is really essentially some wry, sarcastic humor that some of those extra elements provide. So take that for what you will. The other thing is, the subject matter is, I'm a generally conservative-leaning individual, and so the subject matter may be, for some people, something that they will want to resist based on just the thematic presence of it. They may find some resistance to that. I mean, let's be honest. Like, you can mask drug use, which was emblematic of the times, and promiscuity situations with euphemistic terms, but it's still representative of the darker themes therein. And that's, that's just the reality. That's not going to be taken away. You can call it candy, but we know what it is. You can make some tongue-in-cheek entends, but you know what it is. And so if those things are like, I don't feel comfortable with that, probably not your game. It requires abstraction to be able to go, like, I'm eating candy, I'm not shooting up, kind of thing. And that's not unfamiliar. I honestly don't. I separate myself from themes in a lot of games. There's a lot of games where you have that, and so I'm not justifying or rationalizing or trying to convince you otherwise, but I do think it's worth noting that, for example, the Doolittle Raid. In the Doolittle Raid, which is one of my all-time favorite games, you are simulating, a secret mission to go over and bomb Tokyo. Like, these are bombs. You're going to have to separate yourself, and that's maybe an example that could also be right. But, well, there's nothing wrong. Whatever. That aside, the idea is you're abstracting yourself from something that is inherently probably a repulsive or sobering act that you would have if you were to be presented with that choice in the real world. That's gaming. It's abstraction. It's changing. It's again. just keep that in mind as you're playing it. I was not grieved by it. I know some of my friends are like, I'd rather not. That's fine. That's totally fine. Subject matter is what it is, and I think they've a great amount of work and effort and energy and just thoughtfulness went into it. But again, intrinsically, make your choice. The gameplay itself is honestly, again, subdued. Beyond the presentation that just feels like it's okay, we're making our way, we're eking our way. There's nothing like, yeah, like ready, set, rock and roll bet kind of thing. Like, yeah, no, like it's, in a lot of ways you look at this and you look at the way it's presented and all that, and you expect this to be kind of a rock and roll, raucous, rebellious affair, like adult Chuck E. Cheese, and then you visit and find yourself that it's a book club where they're reading The Help for the umpteenth time. And so it's not that dramatic, but there is a dissonance between the two elements that I do feel may be less enthralling as a core game loop than I would expect for rock and roll. And again, all of these, as you'll notice, other than maybe the glitz versus substance things, are really just Tom Petty concerns. And so now we're going to get to my favorite part, which is the pros. Number one, the biggest pro, it goes to 11. That is not just awesome. The dial's to 11. Thank you. It's indicative of the incredible detailed touches that extract the full immersion and vibe of the 1977 rock scene. More, it taps into the vibe and stylistic themes fully all across the board. I think it probably helps having an eyewitness as a designer, someone who is there for the ups and downs and ins and outs and all that. Probably, of course, is going to make the game more informed. Sort of like General MacArthur designing a Return to Corregidor game, or Patton designing Battle for Sicily in his own patented way. You're going to get that insight that you wouldn't get for someone who just studies it rotely from afar 30, 40, 50 years later. The component quality is an 11 of 10. I really like these thick player boards. I just opened up another game before it, Pirates of Maracaibo, and it wasn't even 5 minutes before we started to see the frowny face warp of the board. This does not happen. They're thick, they're meaty, they slap together. That it's like it is. Yes, everything's it, but there's precise insets. Those dials are perfect. They fit perfectly. The dials, the insets and switches, they're not too tight, they're not too loose. I mean, these are the best dials I've seen since the Yukon Airways, which is another game that just kicked it out of the park. Thematic pieces everywhere. Money's whatever. The money's fine. Like whatever. It's realistic, but it's like everything's thematically represented in a way that really promotes the vibe. The guitar picks for turn order pieces. This is ingenious. Of course, who's not going to love it? I don't really like having to flip them back and forth in turn order, but whatever. A small matter, all things considered. The game board is very well conceived in that you have very logical groupings, you have very logical orderings, and it's very easy to understand right away for the most part. There is iconographic representations of different things, but the coloring, if you're not colorblind, is like, red you pay, black you get, blue you have to already have had kind of things, and then you see it and everything's consistent and great. The manual is stellar, both in quality of material, actual material, and in rulebook explanation aspects. It's sort of self-aware in knowing, this is a larger rulebook than somebody who just wants to rock on. And those acrylic player pieces, those are surprisingly satisfying. Like you can do the cardboard cutouts, and I've been, yeah, that's cool. You could do wooden meeples, but those things, I think those are a perfect touch to really go like, yeah, look at this vibe, and you can look instantly at that piece and connect it to the actual player card. They match up with the art style. How many times I've spent hundreds of dollars on Kickstarters and they come with these figurines and then you're trying to map them to the actual image and stuff and you're like, yeah, none of that problem anyway. The art style is Floydian, the wall-to-wall perfection. It's so embodying of that era. It's so tuned to that age and era. I could feel the metal-wheeled roller skate wheels on my feet and the goody comb materializing into my pocket. Every component is styled to give credence to the time and the age with a veritable salute of respect to all of its ups and downs. The artist was clearly at the ZZ top of her game. And I've looked for other artwork that she's done in games. I haven't seen a lot, but I really, let me be an unquestionable fan to say you hit it out of the park, and I hope that you keep doing so. It evokes more than a feeling of 70s culture, unquestionably. Um, I also think many worker placement games also eschew randomness a lot, or other than shuffle the cards and turn different ones, or variable worker placement. This one has a lot. It has that aspect, that push your luck aspect, push your aspect. That is a novel approach, albeit at the risk of introducing risk, which some people would be like, does that, like this is a risk thing that's going on. So not only you're placing a worker, but you're taking a risk before your turn to like go, I need to do some additional actions, but it might cost me, and the more I push myself, the more I might wind up losing out a little bit, and that's okay. Um, I don't. I think that it's a nice add to this that doesn't involve like let's throw everything to the wind and make luck just really immersive. That said, I do think like I often in my mind I was thinking would to make more excitement would be like, hey, how well were you received? Like when you play at a venue, you get these very specific things, and that's very Euro worker placement. Like worker goes here, you got these, you get that. Just trading, almost mercantilistic aspect, which I almost kind of wanted when you start in that nighttime playing the venues and whatever. Some risk there would have been cool too. Like how well did you do? Do you have attributes that help? Like yeah, you kicked out of the part. Oh man, power edge. But again, that's a totally different game. It's not my game, and so these are things that I thought. I think there's probably enough randomness with the use of the candy. And I want to thank these guys. I bought this directly from Devere. And these guys pack their games. This is a side note, not about the game, but they pack their games better than anyone for ensuring no damage. I got Jerusalem, I got Red Cathedral, White, yeah. And all of these, I'm just, like, they ship better than everything. Still, FedEx managed to bungle it. I did get damage, but only because of the insane amount of damage they put on the box. And yet, it was so well done. So, good job, Devere. As a publisher, I give you kudos. Um, and I want to say that even though I kind of griped a little bit about the fact that there's so much diffusement of focus here for the game, that the many different variables do introduce a replayability more so than it might first appear. We all make fun of the bar mitzvah and whatever, but it is opportunity, and none of these are hugely impacting, but little things that go on, little events that go on, little changes in your motivation, changes in your goals, which manager you play, and it's a small but sizable quantity of random vectors to avoid an overall sense of sameness, and so I applaud it for that. I also want to talk about the designer and the support that the designer has given to this, more than just being a photo op. Now, this I've seen lots and lots of video like interviews and a lot of push how to plays. There's a lot going on here that was done to push and promote this game more so than some other ones that I've seen from other designers. And I initially kind of get a little bit like jaded about it because I'm like, okay, you get golden special, like what is this really, and whatever. And it would be easy for a designer to just coast on that and go like, yeah, cool, buy my game, this is great, whatever. Sort of like, is the game itself any good becomes a question later downstream. And it's sort of like, it reminds me, like we just finished the Olympics, and have you ever been, instead of just watching the Olympics, whatever, where there's these stories, and instead of showing the actual Olympic events, you're caught up with some interview with the backstory, and Bubbles once stubbed her toe on an iceberg and fought through the SpongeBob Band-Aid being applied, and grueling regimen back to the Olympics story, blah blah blah, tear-shedding crap. That's nice, but then I always see that and I'm like, that's nice, but I want to know how she performs. I want to see the performance. Did he perform? She performed? They perform in the moments. It's the same with this game where we've got lots of backstory. I've probably had more information given to me on the backstory and stuff than I have many games. Almost to the point I'm like, yeah, maybe I'll just let other people buy it. But I'm like, nah, I want to give it a shot. I like rock on. I'll be a rebel and not a rebel at the same time. But my question was, how is the game today? And I was very pleasantly surprised that this game really has a wisdom and an intuition of design from a first-time designer and honestly, it avoids a lot of the rookie mistakes that other first-time devs make, who are really good, but their first entries. This is, the site. There's a lot of buzz, there's a lot of support, and there's lots of ways that fame aspect could have just been ushering a fast track to sales, but it hasn't. It turns out to be the real deal, the real thing. And the designer who's been on, I have really appreciated that the designer has been active, not just in promoting the game, but has been dutifully and gracefully handling questions, concerns, balance problem, about whatever, and just really with grace and kindness, being able to really engage with the audience of the people who've done it. And that's something many designers who've done 50 games won't do. And so hats off for being so as a first-time designer, for being so already veteran in ways many veterans aren't. It's clear that you have your heart into it, and men without, hats off to you for not falling into a lot of the dire straits that many first-time designers do. The other thing I'm going to give credit for is the wry and knowing humor, which always is a friend of mine. It touches all the areas from the rulebook to the card play or whatever. It's got a tongue-in-cheek vibe that really sticks with you. And finally, the gameplay. You know what? It is, even though it's subdued in some degrees, it's kind of like a home-cooked meal more than a glitzy, sizzling steak cooked at your table kind of affair. There's nothing here that revolutionizes anything grandly. Even if the artwork led Zeppelin you to believe that it might be a little more flashy than it was. There's very little here that's totally extraneous. It's got kind of a comfortable numbness to it. This is sort of like, this is Sting. You've seen it before, but you still like it anyway. So, anyway, in closing, Rock Hard 1977. I played a few games, and there aren't a ton, but there are some games out there for that kind of vibe. The designer of Seven Wonders, for example, did a little game called Rock Band Manager, which again was, I think it was nice. It was good. It kind of had a similar sort of shortened version of this vibe of building out your rock band and stuff. To be honest, nobody's going to touch the greatest music board game ever created, which is Sabaton's Battle for History. It's Sabaton. It wins by default. Yeah! That said, this is a pleasant, life imitates game imitating life. I do think the imbuement of the realistic tasks and balancing the jobs and the duties and the struggles and the stribations, coupled with the thematic stories and tongue-in-cheek anecdotes here, is above all its peers. And it embodies the struggling artist shooting for the stardom aspect, and I think it nails that. It does kind of elongate itself beyond what might be comfortable for some people as far as gameplay style, and again, the little bumps, the slow ramp up, it's suggesting it might have been better for the game to burn out than fade away. I don't know. And as for me, I am a child of the 60s, barely. Born for like very late in the 60s, and so I don't have quite the breadth of unawareness that most 60s kids had, but I was around in the 70s, and I do see and resonate with the theme greatly. And I will say that this is a 7.5-star game in an 11 and 10 presentation box. In some ways I feel a little bit of deja vu, because I also backed another first-time designer in Jerusalem last year from Devir, and it was kind of similar thing where they gave it their all, wonderful production, and stuff, and the game itself was decent enough, but not necessarily overwhelmingly so to just, wow, amazing. Anyway, so while I wouldn't personally be in a major Tom rush to buy it, I would be pleased to incorporate it into my collection, particularly for gamers with interest peaked over the topic at hand, whether you're from Chicago, Kansas, or even just out in the sticks. So, anyway, and again, I want to point out that I'm hugely impressed that this is a first-time entry by a game designer. I do hope that you continue to invest in your game design talent. Maybe an 80s revisit, or go off and do something different, but bright future ahead. Thanks to you for doing it. Thanks again, everyone, and we'll see you next time on Harebrained Games.